huge. It's what's so great about those neutral sites that they do now with the road game. It's you get a chance to play someone, you know, perceived to be pretty good, but on a neutral floor. It's great to have them on your own floor. It's great to get a true home win, a road win on someone else's floor. But when you're not quite sure where you are, it's great to be on a neutral floor, right? It's the meet in the middle. So I think it really was great. It's early. I am guessing that Virginia Tech probably is looking at a lot of things they didn't do well, and they're probably thinking it wasn't necessarily that Iowa, thwarted them. But I'm happy with the grit that they showed. Our team really made some nice adjustments at halftime. So I was happy about that. I think they held through, some sticky parts. So I think it is big for that. They're getting together and formulating some moments and memories of, strength they can draw on when they get in some other tougher games.
We talked about how even all that's new, like the experience that this team does have from the last 2 years, can be beneficial in spots. You look at the third quarter, it goes from 2 to I think 16 in like 6 minutes. How much did handling kind of the ebbs and flows of the game up to that point and then being able to capitalize kind of showed that?
I think the big thing for our team, I think we can really make some strides when we get more consistent. We haven't really shot the ball that well yet, and we have some pretty good shooters on the team. We didn't shoot a great percentage. Where we shoot the 20s for the 3, which is kind of uncharacteristic. So being able to hold mentally and rely on your defense and really still take some pretty good shots. We're just taking some really quick shots. And sometimes when you do that, you can't get your flow, but it can also kind of mess with your confidence. And I think they just kept going to the next play. Got the stop when we needed it, went to the next play, and then that third quarter when it clicked again, then we had the separation. So I think that was a really, really good mark. Abby Stamp we were talking about it on our staff, just that grittiness, and that was really nice to see. But it was nice when that third quarter, when the shots started to fall a little bit and key players had some good moments. So that was a big turning point, obviously.
I know there were a few things defensively that you guys wanted to clean up after the Northern Illinois game. What changed for the game last night, and what did you like from defense?
Well, in the Northern Illinois game, they're a much better shooting team than Virginia Tech was collectively, meaning the shots were falling. I think when you look back, we were fortunate that Va-Tech missed some shots, but we were exceptional on their leading key person of number 11, Matilda Eck. In the Northern Illinois game, we were just too helpy off of three-point shooters. We weren't in a good position in our gap. Want to be between the driver and the shooter and your person. And then we wanted to help on these drives, which really sucked in what they wanted us to do and left open these wide open shooters. So we weren't really disciplined in those gaps. And, it's nice to be an over-helping team, instead of just worried about yourself. So we really talked to them about being disciplined to your positions, and I thought that was much better last night. When we did get beat in the first half, it was transition. We didn't slow the ball, and our gaps weren't great. But then the second half, we really slowed down their transition, that's where they got a lot of those threes. So I think we stayed true to our gap, and we really understood personnel much better last night. So the Northern game, they had some really good pure shooters. I knew a couple of them because, they came to our camps and we sent them letters earlier in their careers.
Taylor said that you guys had him scouted to a T. What was that?
Well, we just hired some really good people. Like Sean Sullivan, he was our Grace Wide guy that he made it to a manager, and we hired him young as our video person, but you can just see people who have a sense for things, right? And Sean just loves to watch the game, break down the game. He also came from North Carolina, right? So he was in the ACC with Virginia Tech, but a totally different staff. So, and half the players had left. But I just have a lot of confidence in Sean and Randy and Raina and Abby, and they just work really hard. They watch a lot of film, and the confident way in which we all study it. There's gonna be times you can have a really great scout and you lose as well, right? So I just feel like we're going to have them prepared. And I was really happy for Sean. Anytime you're new and you have your first scout, you don't want to mess it up, right? Even though I keep telling him you can't mess it up, right? It's the prep is there. We just got to go out and do it.
Of all the players who come back with another boost of confidence, for Addie to deliver a night like that in this kind of her last run here,
Right.
How significant can that be moving forward?
And I was just so happy for Addie because that's another kid that's it's kind of the trajectory of old school, right? You used to recruit kids and you develop kids, and then you're kind of disappointed because you thought you beat out that kid, and then you accept your role, and then you stay and you make the other player really good. Well, with the portal situation, right, that is no longer a typical formula. So I'm just thrilled. Kylie Feuerbach against Northern, right, Illinois. Addie last night, 9 for 9. Aside from the coaching and the business side of it, that's really, I need the wins, we need the wins. Just to see a kid's hard work rewarded and they get that moment, I couldn't be happier for her. And she's just responding so well to Coach Randy Henderson. I think her approach, Randy's done a fantastic job getting her confident and ready, and it was just really nice, how they were playing us defensively. Addie was able to really counter with that 3 quarters and that front. So I'm hopeful that confidence will lead to bigger and bigger things.
How much has she leaned into, even if the first 3 years haven't unfolded perfectly, that there's still this last season to make your career what you want it to be? I think she's done
great. And even at the beginning, it's neck and neck. At the press conference, it was so close. And I said, I thought, Ava led a little bit with her athleticism. But then Addie just kept going because they're both going to play. It's different, if you just think, man, that kid's going to get it and I'm never getting in. The message has been like, and I know people thought I was kind of hokey, but, the beginners of the game versus starters is like, you can't put so much stock sometimes on starting. The world does, right? And maybe your families and your friends do, but we need what Addie brings, and we're going to need what Ava is going to bring. And so we've just been trying to tell them to hey, just keep battling. And they really love each other. They're for each other. Of course, Ava obviously wants to play and have those moments, and I believe she'll get those moments. But if we can get both of those guys going at the same time in this season, it's going to be pretty fun because they're going to give a different look to the opponent. And then if you play them alongside Hannah, then that gives it a whole different. There's 3 different looks that we can possibly give. So we just got to keep working on Ava's development and confidence, and keep Addie's right there.
There's going to come time here pretty soon where Sid Folter's going to be ready to come back in the starting lineup. Have you given any thought to whether Kylie or Taylor will be the odd person out?
Yeah, that's the challenging thing because you kind of have it set, and then you have an injury, then everybody kind of gets used to it, and now we got the next situation of, okay, who's going to be in the lineup and who isn't. And that's where I'd like to think that our team culture and chemistry is strong enough that whether it's Taylor or whether it's Kylie, that they really, it's disappointing, and it should be, because you want everybody competing for that, right? That's when you're great. Everybody's got to be battling. But then when the decision's made, you just got to keep battling even harder, because that's how you make yourself better, but you make, the person that edged you out better. And I don't foresee that after kind of a moment of I wish I could have stayed in there. But we're going to need both of them. Kylie's a 3-point threat, right? She can hit the 3, she can attack. Her floater's not bad, but the element of her is her amazing defense, right? But Taylor, few people in the country can do what Taylor does, is when you get her a look and get her open. So we're going to have to be mindful of managing all of that, because the depth is always great, but if you don't manage the depth, then you really wasted it. So I haven't given a whole lot of thought yet, but Sid is just a catalyst for us. So as long as she's feeling good, she'll be back in there.
You went with 5 people for the most part last night. I think there was a very clear 5 in terms of minutes. Was that just kind of the group that was working well? Is there
Yeah,
anything
you
to
know,
it?
I think because we're young, in that environment, the very first time, you know, I don't know how many thousands stuck around, but it was different. I mean, it's just different. That tournament runs it like an NCAA. You feel it. The locker rooms are dressed like an NCAA. You know, they have a lot of media. It just, you know, ESPN. So the feel is, you know, we pull away, but then the Hokies would get close a little bit. They pull away, so you had to go with who was kind of had a confidence about them. Not that these kids won't tomorrow or won't today, but it was just one of those situations where, you know, we stat all the, you know, we have different stats than you guys see, the plus minuses, but we kind of know what's flowing, who's getting the ball reversed sometimes, who's getting it, who's to the post easier, gives me not, you know, more confidence. So that's why you saw it. Was it ideal? No. And I do not think as we get these freshmen more and more confident that you'll see that. That just is typical of trying to play combinations and trying to get them with the right people at the right time.
Just quick, what's Toledo do? What's their?
You know, it's another, I mean, it's really interesting. We played a lot of people with different coaches, right? Because Virginia Tech, and now this gal is new, and she did a nice job at Monmouth. And so we've had to watch some of the stuff from there because they've only played one game, opening night, and then we're their next one, which is kind of unusual. But they don't have a lot of size. I think they run some of the Princeton and Low Princeton. I haven't really watched them as much yet. I did a little bit on the plane, but I haven't watched them that whole game. So, and I think they got zoned totally. I think they played Marshall, so it was definitely what we haven't done as much yet. But she, you know, I know her, she's always had a nice level of success, and I just know that there's posts are undersized, but they can also go to a 5-out. Which is what Drake will do as well. They play a nice, you know, Drake's always a juggernaut when they play a 5-out too. But that's about all I know with Toledo right now.
You're shooting 27% from 3 right now for 2 games. Is that something that you're alarmed by, or are you kind of just going to take it?
No, I'm not alarmed. I'm more disappointed, you know, because when you shoot poorly, it takes longer for that confidence to come back. We shouldn't be that low. When I look at us in practice, it's a little bit surprising. So watching the film, we're just not giving ourselves the best opportunity for a make. We're taking it at the wrong time. We're rushing. You know, we should really sometimes drive the closeout versus try to force the shot. So that's what gives me more optimism, is we're just simply not putting ourselves in the best position to be a maker. But we, you know, I tell them, you know, everybody can be a shooter, but you got to be a maker. And I see a lot of makers on our court in practice, but the proof is in the pudding in a game. So we got to start doing better with that.